All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, for the first time in a long time, the Kansas City Chiefs have their work cut out for them if they want to win the AFC West for a record setting 10th consecutive year. Now, last night's loss to the Denver Broncos pushed the Chiefs' record at 5-5 this season, while they are now 4 games behind Denver in the win column. Last year, we saw Kansas City en route to going 15-2 specialize in winning the close games as they were 11-0 during the regular season in games decided by a touchdown or less. However, so far this season, the Chiefs are 0-5 in affairs like that. Now, you ask, what has changed for the Chiefs? To me, the biggest thing is I see the Chiefs' opponents are no longer fearing this team like they did in years past. Because honestly, it looks like the mystique is gone. Kansas City opponents have, and I said this at the beginning of the season, they have taken the Philadelphia Eagles game plan from Super Bowl 59 this past January as they are just basically dialing up the defense and the pressure on quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Now, Mahomes has been sacked 20 times so far this season. Okay, I grant him that. But aside from the sacks, it's more about the pressure that the defenses are creating and getting him off of his spots and making him uncomfortable. Like I've said in the past, okay, and I will continue to stick by this. I feel like this Chiefs organization has simply gotten too comfortable relying on Mahomes, tight end Travis Kelsey, and of course, defensive tackle Chris Jones. And I feel like, you know what? Hey, you look at all three of those guys that I just mentioned. We're talking about three guys that are more than likely all going to be Hall of Famers. I think Kelsey and Mahomes are locks at this point. I think Chris Jones is definitely going to be in that mix, but it's basically Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones, and 50 other guys out there playing football. And the thing with Kansas City, it's worked in the past. Okay, I totally get it. But at some point, if you continue to go to the well once too often, that well is going to run dry. And I think that well is starting to run dry for Kansas City. You look at it this season. You've got Kareem Hunt, who is the Chiefs' leading rusher with just 350 yards. Okay, so the way that things are looking, Kansas City's not going to have a 1,000-yard back this year. Travis Kelsey is once again leading the Chiefs in receiving yards for the season with 631, but the next closest pass catcher is Hollywood Brown, who's nearly 200 yards behind him receiving at 429. You look at this team defensively, it's basically Chris Jones and a whole bunch of guys out there. And you're looking at it again, you can go so far with it, and the Chiefs have had success with it, but you need to start getting talent. And I think Kansas City, for far too long as an organization, like I said, have taken these guys for granted. Patrick Mahomes on offense can't do it by himself. Okay. And for years now, where we saw the AFC West uh, won by the Chiefs uncontested, those days are over. Okay, and I said that this was going to happen as soon as we saw the Broncos hire Sean Payton, the Chargers hire Jim Harbaugh, and even though I know that they're struggling right now, the Raiders with Pete Carroll. Why? Because all three of these guys that I just mentioned have Super Bowl experience. Okay, in the case of Pete Carroll and Sean Payton, they won Super Bowls. Jim Harbaugh got the Niners there, and he also won a national championship collegiately at Michigan. 2 years ago, all right. We saw the Chiefs go 11-6 and win in the regular season, still win the division. Clearly, this gap has shrunk. And when I say 11-6, they went 11-6 that year and won the Super Bowl. Okay, this time around, they've really got their work cut out for them. Okay, because the Broncos are for real, especially on the defensive side of the football. We saw that last year when they were basically a blocked kick away from going into Arrowhead and defeating the Chiefs. And of course, they handed Kansas City their second loss of the season last year during the regular season in Week 18, albeit that Mahomes, Kelsey, and all of the key components of this team did not play. But nonetheless, for Kansas City at this point, like I said, they're 5-5. They really have their work cut out for them. And I think if you are the Chiefs, you're probably going to have to accept the fact now, especially after last night's loss, because I feel like that was a must win for them. That if you're going to be a playoff team here in 2025, that you're going to have to do it via the wild card round. Because you look at it, Denver's 9-2. Like I said, they're 4 games up on Kansas City in the win column. At this point, okay, for the Chiefs to have any somewhat of a chance to win this division, they have to go at least 5-2 the rest of the way, and they've got to hope that the brakes falter on this Broncos Express right now, which is going to be easier said than done. But like I said, aside from the division aspect, you look at the playoff aspect overall on the AFC side. If the postseason began today, Kansas City would be on the outside looking in. They're ninth, and of course, the top 7 teams go. They're 5-5. The Texans are 5-5. The Ravens are also 5-5. But of course, Kansas City gets that tiebreaker over Baltimore in the head-to-head. But you look at it, the teams in front of them. Jacksonville has the last wild card. They beat Kansas City. The Chargers have they're sixth right now. They beat Kansas City. Buffalo has the top wild card in the AFC. They also beat Kansas City. And of course, in the case of Buffalo and Jacksonville, it's just one time that they're going to face Kansas City during the regular season. So of course, if they finish tied, Kansas City is out of luck. It's one of those where for right now, the Chiefs, their backs are against the wall. Okay. And I think for them, their postseason starts right now because over these final 7 games, final 2 months of the season, whichever way you want to slice it, they really have to hunker down. And nothing is a given because, like I said, they need to go at least 5-2. But you look at this schedule, it's not an easy one. Okay. The Chiefs get the Colts at home at Arrowhead this Sunday, but Indy's coming fresh off of a bye. That's not going to be an easy game. Kansas City will then travel to Dallas on Thanksgiving Day to take on the Cowboys. And the Cowboys, especially at home on Thanksgiving, could possibly be a tough out for the Chiefs. They still host the Houston Texans in week number 14. The rematch with the Chargers in week 15. The rematch with the Broncos in week 17. The only real sure things for Kansas City right now is they're in Tennessee to take on the Titans in week 16, and they finish up on the road in Vegas against the Raiders to end the regular season. But like I said, Kansas City really has their work cut out for them. And I'll tell you like this, if for whatever reason Kansas City were to miss the playoffs, just hypothetically speaking, you know what? It should make them go back to the drawing board and say, you know what? We've milked our philosophy for all that it's worth, but now we have to change the way we go about things. And it is time to start putting more talent around Patrick Mahomes, especially due to the fact that this more than likely is going to be the last season in the NFL for Travis Kelsey. You don't replace players like that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So again, what are you going to do? Who are you going to bring into the table if you're Kansas City to try to keep this machinery going? And at the end of the day, it's time for the Chiefs to adjust and adapt. This Broncos team is for real. They're young and they're hungry, and they're going to be a force in this division for quite some time. The same can be said about the Chargers. So these are the teams that you are now going to have to be contesting with in the AFC West. And then, of course, the AFC as a whole. New England is young and hungry. You still got Buffalo. You still got Baltimore, even though, Kansas City beat them this year. Jacksonville looks like a different team. The Colts look like a different team. So this is not the AFC that the Chiefs were basically able to run roughshod over in recent years. Times have changed, and I think now is the time for the Kansas City Chiefs to change their philosophy as well. Like I said, it's gut check time. Their backs are against the wall, so I want to see what type of effort this team comes out with this Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. And it's not going to be easy. The Colts have a good D. The Colts can run the football very effectively with Jonathan Taylor. So let's see what Kansas City brings to the table. But nonetheless, last night was a must win for Kansas City if they wanted to win, to try to still have an opportunity to win this division. I'm not going to sit up here and write off the Chiefs and say, hey, they will not make the playoffs. They still have a golden opportunity in front of them to get to the postseason. It's more than likely going to be a wild card, as a wild card, but nonetheless, it is definitely time for them to hunker down. And if they don't hunker down over these next couple of weeks, then guess what? For the first time in a very long time, you got to go back to 2014, Andy Reid's second year, to find that the last time that the Chiefs didn't make the postseason. Of course, that would be the first time that Patrick Mahomes would not have made the postseason in the NFL if the Chiefs fall short. And if you think that Mahomes could be a little surly and salty after losing a Super Bowl or being eliminated in the playoffs, imagine if he's got to watch the whole kit and caboodle from home. But nonetheless, if the Chiefs want to make it 11 straight trips to the postseason, Andy Reid and company, they better roll up their sleeves. They have to put in and burn the midnight oil to try to figure this thing out. But nonetheless, like I said, that gap in the AFC West is closed. They are, being the Chiefs, they're everybody's Super Bowl now, regardless if they get to the Super Bowl or not, because teams want to knock them off. That fear factor is gone. So the bottom line is, how will this Kansas City Chiefs team respond? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, it starts this Sunday at home against the Colts. But nonetheless, must win for the division that the Chiefs lost. Let's see if they can, put their focus on this wild card and try to make a push coming down the stretch in the regular season. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button, as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you were on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you could check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it'd be my pleasure to follow you right back. And the same goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you are on Facebook, definitely check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.